Chapter 9. Sue woke up the next day and checked her machine. There were 5 new messages. She felt herself get a little excited. She was hoping to hear from Michelle and Rob. From the number of new messages, they both might have called. She had spent the past 2 nights at the Days Inn. It was a nice enough place, but she was beginning to miss the creature comforts that waited for her at home. She didn't even have another fresh change of clothes with her. That didn't make a huge difference in the way her normal work week went. She only had 2 work outfits, and she would wear the other one every other shift and hope that nothing made it through the apron that the job provided her daily and noticeably stain her white button-up dress shirt. She would wash both outfits once a week to get them ready for the following week's shifts. The one work outfit she had with her was holding up all right. It was her casual clothes that were shot. They were beginning to smell a little. She had perfume in her backpack and hoped that would help cover up the odor. The night before, she had begun planning on disobeying Rob just long enough to grab a few more changes of clothes in case her stay away went on for too long. The very idea of going against what she was supposed to do made her nervous. Something really was going on. She could feel it in the air. The wind had really picked up the night before and was still howling outside. It wasn't as menacing in the early afternoon as it had been in the dark of the night, but there was something traveling on it, even in the bright sunlight. It was invigorating and disquieting at the same time. There was a definite sense of change. She could almost smell it. That wind was what made her decide against going home at all until Rob said it was safe. It would be so typical for her to go home at just the wrong time. That was how things had been working out for a long time, until recently. Michelle had been making times better. She couldn't imagine going through it all without her. She was going through the current bit on her own, but she was not going to allow Michelle to just walk out of her life, even if she really wanted to. She would make her stay. They were really good for each other. Michelle was helping Sue not to be so stepped on by life, and Sue was helping Michelle have someone to support her feistiness, no matter how overt it may be at times. They needed each other, and Sue still wanted her as well in every way. She needed the upset to end soon. She needed her place back. She needed to get in touch with Michelle. Life couldn't just be placed on hold any longer. At least Michelle had put the phone back on the hook, so she could check her messages. That meant Michelle had gotten her message, and knew to stay away until it was safe. Why then hadn't she come to the hotel to at least talk? Where did she even have to go? Maybe things were ending on her side, but Sue would not allow them to on hers. The first message was a telemarketer offering to steam clean her carpets for super cheap. She did not have a way to fast forward to the next message. She had to listen to the entire thing. It was a cheap machine with limited options. Luckily, that cheapness cut the nuisance message off after a minute. An Officer Dover was asking her to give him a call back. He said it was urgent. He asked for her by name. Sue had gotten a parking ticket by mail a few weeks earlier, after she had just put the car in a red space to run to a mailbox to pay a bill. The car had only been there for a few seconds, and she had even left the engine running and the hazards on. She couldn't even believe it was legal for someone to just see a car and jot down the license plate and ticket it. Stoplights photographing cars that were running red lights was one thing, but what happened to her was something else altogether. It was an abuse of power. Michelle had convinced her not to pay it. She was still waiting for a court date to come by mail, so she could contest it. She had forgotten all about it. The ticket was somewhere in her stack of to-do papers, all wrinkled from her wadding it up in anger. The next message was from Rob. He said it was safe. He sounded a little strange, but it was some good news for her. What was he saying about the apartment? He got cut off. Damn that piece of junk machine. The next message was him again. What did he mean the apartment was trashed? The killer had been in their rooms? What the fuck was going on? Blood? Was he kidding? It was too much. She had to get back there. The next message was another telemarketer offering to give her lower interest rates on credit cards she didn't even have. She slammed the phone down before the automated voice had completed its message or got cut off by the answering machine as well. She had to go to work that night, too. She had been glad about that. She needed the money, especially with the extra expense of the hotel. She also had wanted a place to go. Work was just as good a place as any, maybe better because it was a place that paid her to be there. She didn't care about any of that after getting the messages. She just wanted to go home. She was going to do just that, and right away. She threw on her mildly stinky casual attire and threw the few other possessions she had with her back into her pack. She was out the door in less than 5 minutes from getting the messages. She ran down to the front desk and checked out. The process of it filled her with relief. That unpleasant stage of events was over. She had questioned and resented Rob in the prior 48 hours, despite the feeling traveling on the wind, wondering if all of it really was necessary. She thought there was the possibility that he might be overly paranoid. From his message, however, it sounded like it was a good thing she had stayed away. It sounded like it was all over, and she didn't care if the walls of her place had blown out. They were her walls to deal with, instead of the flowery, bordered walls of an anonymous hotel room. She went to the bus stop and anxiously waited for it to get her home. The anticipation of what she was returning to was overwhelming her. She fidgeted like crazy, getting up from the bench to pace around. She didn't care. There were plenty of crackpots in the city, especially at bus stops, and she would allow herself to be one. It was her time. The bus arrived just over 10 minutes later. There were 2 homeless men towards the back of the bus where Sue was sitting. They were jabbering away at no one. She wanted to turn them to face one another, so they could at least be jabbering together with someone who wasn't invisible. Their unseen counterparts were apparently not any more pleasant than the blabbering men themselves. Neither one of them was having a civil conversation. Sue tried to ignore them and nervously bounced her right leg on the ball of her foot. Her fidgeting was not anywhere near as bad as the raving men. No one even noticed her. She wasn't wearing any makeup. She felt unattractive, but she didn't really care. She had just bolted at the news of her being able to return home. She was hoping that Michelle wouldn't be there when she returned. She would like to doll herself up a bit before their reunion. She also wanted to feel more secure in her own skin, in case she had to win another fight with her to get her to stay. The bus stop dropped her off, right in front of her apartment building. She stared up at it for a moment after she got off. People were passing her by on the sidewalk while she stood and stared, squinting in the sunlight. It should have been good to be home, but she was not really feeling that. Her stomach was churning. Her intuition made the sunlit building look off somehow. She figured it was just her anticipation. She walked inside and felt the much cooler difference in temperature in the lobby, even though the building didn't have air conditioning. She couldn't wait to get to her little room unit and crank it until her place was nice and chilly. She didn't have the energy for the stairs, so she summoned the elevator. It came. She fought with the heavy doors to get inside, but it was still easier than climbing 3 flights to her floor. The lift jerked to a stop when it got to her level. She fought her way out, grunting with exasperation as the outer door closed on her backpack as she tried to start her walk down the hall. She wrenched it free by tugging on it. It was a sturdy pack, almost as sturdy as the damn door that had tried to eat it. She approached her door and paused. It was a ways up ahead on the right, so she just saw it from an angled perspective. There was yellow stuff scribbled on it. She looked at it, confused for a moment, and then she realized what it was. It was police tape. She ran up to it. "What the fuck?" she whispered to herself. The ribbon was covering the entire door in great big zigzags. Was she allowed to enter? There was no way she could without ripping through it. She considered what to do for a second. She got frustrated and worried and needed to see inside her place that very second. She began ripping it all off haphazardly, ignoring the word caution that was printed on it over and over. She heard a floorboard creak behind her. She turned around. The creak had come from behind Mrs. Cranston's door. "Busybody bitch," she whispered again to herself. Then she heard the sound of several latches unlocking. Had she heard her, Sue wondered? Was she really going to finally be ballsy enough to not just stoop to snoop, but get involved with her nosiness? Well, bring it on, Sue thought. The door hinge squeaked like a kitten when it slowly opened. Mrs. Cranston popped her head out. "Hello?" Sue barked at her. "It is you," Mrs. Cranston said with relief in her shaky old voice. "Yep. Should you be doing that?" She motioned at the wad of tape Sue held in her fist. "It's my place. I need to get in." "I suppose so. Are you all right?" "Yes, but I don't know if my apartment is." Mrs. Cranston furrowed her brow. The young girl was being far too flippant. "My dear, your apartment isn't what's wrong." "What do you mean?" Sue asked with increasing worry. Mrs. Cranston opened her door all the way. "My dear, don't you know?"